Hello and welcome to another one of my how-to videos. Thanks for tuning in. Today we are going to look at Sales Navigator. If you haven't already seen the other video I've done, social selling in 2021, by all means watch this, but a lot of what I'm talking about does make reference back to that video because Sales Navigator was, for me, it is the best lead generation tool on the planet by a country mile for everything on LinkedIn. If you don't understand what's happening on LinkedIn, especially with the changes to the algorithm, what it's encouraging you to do, how to be social on LinkedIn, unfortunately, you're not going to get the best out of Sales Navigator as a tool because fundamentally it is powered by what you do on LinkedIn. As you'll see in this video, it's just serving you really deep, rich insights on organizations and people that you then need to do something. But if you're not understanding what it's asking you to do, then it doesn't actually get to the end goal, the outcome that you're trying to achieve. This video is around half an hour, and it's kind of an overview, but hopefully gives you an understanding of the massive difference between what you get on LinkedIn versus what Sales Navigator will give you. So I hope you find it useful and interesting, and let's get to it. So let's get into Sales Navigator and the advantages that you get with it. First and foremost, it's a separate dashboard. So we click up here once you have the license and activate it, and then it brings you through to a totally separate tool. Now, my product is obviously up and running. If you're doing this for the first time, what typically happens, and they are forever changing things, so please bear with me, is that you will be asked a series of questions around job titles, industry, some specific accounts that you are maybe looking at, just to kind of give it some base data to work with. But what you need to understand is that this tool is looking at information on LinkedIn. So here there is no advertising, there is no algorithm, there is no everything. Your newsfeed, as you see, is now referred to as alerts. So it's similar to what you would see on LinkedIn.com, but it's now in a much more specific feed based on the organizations that you are interested in following. So this is like following an account on LinkedIn, except you now get more detailed news around when they're doing things. So we can move from this filter here to relevance, and then you start to go through to latest. And then what we can do from here is this is now looking at everything that's happening within everything that you're doing. You can then drill this down to accounts, as I said, and then leads. So your leads are people, and this could be an existing client, this could be a prospect, it could be an influencer, subject matter expert, as that were. And what that means is that you can follow them, and then anything that they do on LinkedIn, irrespective whether you're connected. That's the thing around this. Obviously, in LinkedIn.com, you're at the mercy of the algorithm and what it shows you based on your immediate network and your immediate network's engagement with their network and so on. Yes, you can use hashtags to obviously move into different conversations on LinkedIn, but here you're able to look at exactly what you want. And then I can change these alert types. So think of alert type as your news feed. So I can look for anybody that's changed roles, and we click apply, you'll see what happens here. So this, you can see, typically this is promotions within companies for the main part. Really helpful for that. Buyer interest is very much profile views. So when somebody looks at your profile, and typically this is to suggest if they've looked at your profile, are they interested in? So this is more useful if you save somebody who's not in your network, who's not an already connection, and then you can see straight away that they've looked at your profile. Lead news is useful because this is where people have been mentioned in the press. So you can use this as a reason to maybe write a blog around that article, use that as a reason to reach out, or just keep what's going on in the world. So for example, you could save all the chief execs or the CXO of your current clients and your target clients. And then if they are mentioned in the press for doing something, you can keep on top of that. Lead shares, this is where this starts to get really interesting. And this is where the majority of people, if I may be blunt, when it comes to using Sales Navigator, don't understand what they are being asked to do and why this information is of importance. Because within these relationships, some of these people I am not connected to on LinkedIn. So I would not necessarily see what they are sharing. But by following them or saving them as a lead on Sales Navigator, I'm now able to track and engage with their content in a really kind of laser focused approach. If we take Dan, for example, I'm not connected to Dan, so I wouldn't necessarily see what Dan is sharing. But what I can do now is that he has shared this post, and by now liking or commenting on this post, if I think it's appropriate to do so, I can then introduce myself and draw myself into Dan's social proximity. So that's why it's important. I made reference to watching my first video on social selling in 2021, which gets you to understand what we're trying to do on LinkedIn, because everything that happens in Sales Navigator happens back in LinkedIn. The beauty of this is that I'm able to circumnavigate all of that and look at all the information that I want to see in when it happens versus missing opportunity, et cetera, et cetera. So that's what your newsfeed is here. You can really start to drill down around how you want to see things. So then there's two ways typically that I use it that I find best for me. It's either by organizational level or by person level, and then we can use these filters from here. So much like you would do in LinkedIn, if I were looking for a target opportunity within, I'm just going to choose a company, let's say Microsoft, for example. So you come into the search bar at the top, and then I would type in Microsoft, and then I'd find the organization that I want. So click here. Then you see a very different view to what you would normally see on LinkedIn.com. I've already saved this. If it weren't saved, I then save this as an account. I can then create account lists if I want to. So you can call this, I don't know, Q1 target. You can call it whatever you want. This is unique to you. Create and save, and then that will add Microsoft to that specific list. Then what you can do when you've saved people as a lead, they will come through here, so you can start to keep track of what's going on within your lead list. You can see how they describe themselves. That's lifted from their company page. You can add notes if you want to. Again, this is unique to you. You can then see news and insights. So this is specific to Microsoft, and so I can look for account news and glitch in the system because it's saying that Microsoft hasn't been mentioned in the press, which we know obviously not to be true. So that's when that works. That's what that will show there in terms of what's happening within the Microsoft account and what they're sharing. You can look at employee count, increase, decrease. That can be useful to understand. If that is a potential sales trigger for you. You can use this as a reason potentially to reach out if they're increasing in headcount or if they're, of course, decreasing in headcount. We then come back to here, recommended leads. So this is the system going based on your initial kind of setup. We believe that these people could be of interest to you. So CMO at Microsoft, yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to say Chris as a lead. Chris has no idea that that's happened. I can then add him to the Microsoft list. Now what's happening is anything that Chris does, I will get a notification and update. So that'll either happen here, up here, or it'll happen in here within the Sales Nav function. We've seen two there in terms of keeping me up to date as to what's going on. Then within here you have this focus. So this is your first degree connection. So this is how I'm connected to people at Microsoft. Second degree in terms of I can get 17,000 introductions, and then 55 people at Microsoft went to the same university as me. So I can use that as a reason to reach out. For those of you that are on a corporate license, you will have here something called TeamLink. Now what TeamLink shows you is how many people in your organization who are on a Sales Navigator license, and then if you have enterprise or are on TeamLink Extend, have an introduction or have a first degree connection to that account. Because what Sales Navigator does, let's say you have 100 licenses in your company. by everybody being on those licenses, you are now all virtually connected. So let's say that I'm connected to Jane within my company. Forgive me, I am not connected to Jane, who is a colleague in my company, but Jane is connected to somebody at Microsoft. If I go into LinkedIn.com and I search through my network on Microsoft, Jane's relationship is not going to appear in my search on LinkedIn.com. Because we are both on a corporate sales navigator license and we both work for the same company, TeamLink creates that virtual network so that I can go search on Microsoft. I'm not connected to Jane on LinkedIn, but then Sales Navigator creates that connection. I can see Jane is connected to somebody important or somebody useful for me. I can then pick up the phone to Jane internally and say, hey, Jane, I can see you're connected to XYZ. Would be wonderful if I could get an introduction. This is what I'm looking to do. This is why it is critical for people to understand. Sales Navigator cannot magic connections from thin air. It is only as good as your company behavior and network on LinkedIn. So unless you're starting to understand how LinkedIn is working and what's happening on LinkedIn, you're not going to get the best out of Sales Navigator. We then click on 170,000 employees on LinkedIn at Microsoft. So we then get all these filters here, and these filters remain the same across everything. So I can see here 11,000 people have changed jobs in the last 90 days. That could well be a sales trigger to do something. Is that opportunity? Is that risk? Here's everybody at Microsoft that's been mentioned in the press. So again, you can start to use this as a trigger to start a conversation, see what's happening, and so on. Again, those on the corporate license, if you have TeamLink here, what you will then start to see is you'll have your shared connections here, and then here you'll have TeamLink. TeamLink is where you want to start, because that means somebody else in your company is connected, has a first degree connection to these individuals. So that's when you can then start to understand who knows who, where the referral network is, and shortcut everything to start a conversation. Here is where the fun starts. Here are the 38,000 people that have shared something on LinkedIn. Now, normal LinkedIn.com, I'm going to see a minute percentage of this, but now I can start to see everybody who is active. I keep going across. Experiences, for me, not that useful, but some of you may use that as a reason to start a conversation. Here is where this starts to get interesting from a marketing perspective. So yes, on the company pages on LinkedIn.com, for people who've got access to the company page and the data, you can now start to see your followers, but it's not that useful. You can't really kind of filter it that well. And if you've got kind of 1,000+ followers on the company page, and certainly in the tens of thousands, it's really difficult. What this filter does is now tell you, let's say Microsoft is a target account, or it could be a key account and you're trying to land and expand in. Now you can see all the people who are following your corporate page on LinkedIn. Back to my point in my first video around intent data. These people are signaling intent because they are following the corporate page. Now, what's interesting is I have run sessions on Sales Navigator for clients, and this is where marketing can get a little bit uncomfortable. Because they may well, and this isn't bashing marketing, but they may well say, hey, we've got 100,000 followers on our corporate page. But if the key clients, if your key target audience are not following your company page, then that tells you something. But the key thing is you can now do something around this. But obviously this 170,000 is a pretty large number. So we want to start to filter it down. So let's say that you sell to, I don't know, I'm going to see anybody in the cyber team. So I can type in the word cyber, or let's choose cyber security. And then now what I'm doing is I'm looking for anybody with cybersecurity in their profile. So now it starts to drill this much down in terms of, we still see these results, but I want to take this down even further. So maybe I'm interested in those who are based in the United Kingdom. I click on the United Kingdom, and we see, well, that brings up 166, much more manageable. You can do it by postcode. You can really drill down. So if you focus on a particular territory, you can start to put territories in here and drive it that way. What I can then do is I can then save this search. So I can save this search as MSFT Cyber UK. And then I can choose when I want to get updated on stuff, and then off I go. What you can also do in the corporate license, again with team or enterprise, you are then able to share these saved searches up here. So you can share these saved searches with your colleagues within the corporate license. So then you can build out, so let's say account-based marketing. I can see this being useful. You create a base layer search within an organization, and then you can share this within your account team to start to drill down further. So you'll see all these same results up here. So I then have the 31 job changes. Sales trigger, is that something to do, to act upon, etc., etc. But here again, the people who have posted on LinkedIn, and this is where we want to see. So Sarah Armstrong Smith, I then could save her as a lead if I'm interested. I click on her profile. And what we can then start to see is Ian, I know well, actually. I could ask for many introductions into Sarah. But what I could do before asking for that introduction, I can start to see all of Sarah's activity. So here she is sharing a webinar. So that was a day ago, 4 ways to drive future security in the financial sector. So I then click on this. What's now happened is I've come back into LinkedIn.com. And then I will like this. Again, needs to be authenticity behind it. It is relevant that I should engage with this. Is kind of in the space that I work in. So until this point of time, Sarah didn't know I exist as a human being on the planet. Now that she's posted this, I've introduced myself to her. Much like those who watched the first video, this is like the networking piece through the different hashtags. But what Sales Navigator enables you to do is have this laser-focused one-to-one conversation. Of course, the same thing happens, and everybody else that's engaged with that starts to get a notification from seriously helpful, useful people within here because of the level that Sarah obviously is. And of course, by that action, will also notify some of my network within LinkedIn.com because they will have seen Alexander Lowe likes this. They will see this post, and this could be useful for them because they may not have seen it and they may want to attend it. So it's that double hit in terms of adding value to my audience. So this is what LinkedIn is trying to do. This is what Sales Navigator is doing. This data, this piece here is encouraging you, wants you to engage with people who have shared content on LinkedIn. And of course, we can see if they've got premium, then here they're more likely to use it. So Stuart, same principles. If I look at Stuart's profile, we can see here where he's come from, and then we can see updated in terms of what's what. So he's doing this, and he's still doing that at Microsoft. So I might then engage with that post as well. So when you're starting to map out your accounts on LinkedIn from an account perspective, start to get keyword searches in here, start to play around with seniority, all these different types of filters, start to save people as leads. You can create all sorts of different things within here once you save them as a lead. So if I were to save Sarah as a lead, I can either save it to Microsoft, I could call it my cyber list if I want to. So I'm going to save to this account. Then within Sarah's profile, again, if you want to, you can add a note. You can create lists. She's on Twitter, so I then might click on her Twitter profile, see where that takes me through. Is she active? So let's see what she's done. So 18 hours ago. So I might do a double hit in terms of then do a like here. If you have a Twitter account. So I can engage with her twice on 2 different platforms to try and bring myself into her field of view. Then I might ask Ian, who I know well, to see if Ian wouldn't mind introducing me to Sarah. Or if you're in a corporate environment, then of course what you want to leverage is that TeamLink referral and get that introduction. So these filters that work across all the are all the same in terms of any type of search that you do. The other way that I tend to use this is by coming in this way. So this is starting to look at a kind of zero, if you will, and then you build out. So let's say I sell to human resources directors. So what I can do, you can do it 2 ways. So you can do human resources, and we can see the 11 million results. So then I might start to drill down. I'm only interested in the US market, for example. You can see here the different postcodes that you can start to play with, where the companies are headquarters, so you can play it that way. And then maybe from an industry perspective, I want to focus on the automotive sector. And then we can carry on down. And then what I might do, I want to focus people who have been in their position for less than a year. Because if they're new in position, then potentially they're more likely to do something. You can then start to drill down. I'm only interested in particular company headcount size. So I'm only interested in, say, this size and that size. And then you can actually start to work out whether you want to public company, private, all this. You can start to kind of drill down. You've got so much ability to work on this. So let's start with about 1,000 in terms of that relationship. I can then click search, or let's take it a little bit closer. And let's say I'm interested in my second degree because they're that much closer. 36. Let's take that out. Let's leave it large because I want to show you what this can do. Then I click search. So this is now looking at all those same results in terms of the 355 job changes. So we know we're looking at people who've been enrolled for less than a year. So again, with that sales hat on, if someone's changed roles, are they going to change service providers? Are they going to change solution providers? Opportunity to come in to look at technology. Same thing here. Here are the 293 that have posted something in LinkedIn in the last 30 days. So let's say Lucid Motors was something potentially of interest to me. You can see here, third degree, Donald, miles out of my network. So normal LinkedIn, I'd never, ever see any of this. But I then click on Donald's profile. I can then come in to see what Donald has done. We can see been in this role 9 months. Now, what LinkedIn is saying here is that he's done something, we can't see it, but I can see that Donald is on Twitter. So I then click on Donald's Twitter profile. I am on Twitter. I want to see how active he is, and his tweets are protected, so not much I can do around there. But at least in this situation, Donald will potentially know that I've looked at his profile and started to engage. Let's find someone else in terms of trying to bring this to life. So let's look at Hector's got premium, so he's in this sector. Perfect. So here we go. He shared this. Doesn't matter that he shared it 3 weeks ago. You can see maybe what other activity. This is 4 weeks ago. So let's have a look at this post, see if it's appropriate for me to engage on. He's hiring. He's hiring locally in Fort Wayne, but I always want to help people in terms of when they're hiring. So I'm going to like that to bring myself into Hector's field of view. Third plus, he is a long way out of my my network. So I'd never ever normally see this. But by engaging with him, I've now brought myself into his field of view. Same rules apply. Now, what's also interesting here, you'll note Ad Manager. So if you have CRM sync, you do need team or enterprise for this to happen. By adding, so if I happen to know who he reports into, you can type that name in there. That will then start to write back into CRM. And certainly if you've got Dynamics sync, then you can start to create live hierarchy trees within your own CRM instance, and start to drive this data back into CRM. So that's how you can then start to use the filters, all filters search, to start to create searches based around industry, geography. You can even do it by company. So if you want to, you can actually add the particular companies that you say you could put in your, let's say you've got 10 accounts that you focus on. You'd add these 10 accounts in here and flip it that way, so you're looking specifically at what's happening within the organizations. What you can also do, I saw recently that if you haven't got the CRM sync, but you do need the corporate, so you need team or enterprise, you can actually upload CSV files into Sales Navigator to then start to pre-populate your account lists. If they're in the CRM but you haven't got the sync, download those into a CSV file and then upload those into Sales Navigator to then start to build out your accounts. You can search by account, so you can bring this same search and bring it this way. So I tend not to work this way, but if this is a way that you like to work, then you can drive things and drive searches by accounts. What you can also do, if you want to search by an account, you can build your searches out this way, and there's some different account filters that you can drive. So this is going to be more useful from an account-based marketing perspective, because you can then do all these different sizes. You can then play around with, revenue in different geographies. You can do it by headcount, decrease, increase, locations. Technology is used as an interesting one. It's not foolproof, but let's say I want to look for companies that use HubSpot. So I click search. It's got 39,000 companies that use HubSpot. So let's say that you sell to, sell against, sell with organizations that use HubSpot. We can now see these are the companies that use HubSpot. Funding events, again, this is building out, so this is useful. I mean, I follow Crunchbase. I use Crunchbase to do this, but again, starts to drive through from, you can see it, they're picking it up from the press as to where the raises are. But again, if somebody's raising cash, they've got cash to potentially spend and invest in. So that's how you can use the account search filters if you want to. So typically how I use it is I always do it by an account at an individual level and then search for people within those accounts, or I do it actually by people. Another interesting filter that I find very useful within here is this filter here, which is the past not current. So what I can do is I can add this in here. So let's say Microsoft is an existing account. So you type in Microsoft, and then what I want to do is I want to find the past not company, and let's do it actually. They keep changing things around. So this one, so past not current. So it's past not current. So what I'm looking for is people who used to work at Microsoft but don't anymore. If you just use past company, if someone is showing they changed roles but they're still in the same company, that will come up in a past company. Past not current means that they are no longer at that company. And let's say I want to look for what kind of job title could we use? We can have, well, I want to look for, I don't know, who might I sell to? Let's say marketing directors. So let's say marketing directors are who you want to sell to. So now what I can see is, again, you can drill this down. That's a big number. So let's take it down to in New York. So let's say you're focusing on New York. You can play around with this. So what we are now looking at is people who used to work at Microsoft at some point in their career. So let's think about the logic here, the workflow we're trying to do. Microsoft is an existing client of yours that they spend lots of money with. Now what you want to go and find is the former Microsoft employees who are still marketing in the marketing world and where they've gone to, because in theory, they should be a potentially warm conversation to have. So I look at this gentleman here, Seku. I click on his profile. I can see I've got a shared connection. And then what we will see, provided this has worked, is if I go to 5 more, we will then, fingers crossed, here we go. He was a marketing intern and then senior product marketing for Xbox. So it goes back, and this is the beauty of it. So you can then use this as a way to then work out where might my warm introductions be based on my existing company. So again, you could add in 10 companies. So you could add in all your 10 companies that you currently work for, that you're targeting or working through, and then you can start to drive that through. Same searches. So again, these 14 people that have posted on LinkedIn. So I see Katrina potentially useful for me. So what I would do, I'll click on Katrina's profile, and we can see she might ask for some instructions. We can see here, okay, so she's been on, but she hasn't actually shared anything in the last 30 days. But then I go to, because this is why I'm on, sometimes a double hit, sometimes more people are prevalent on Twitter. Unsurprisingly, she is prevalent on Twitter, and then 24. So I'm going to there's actually, and this is what I love about doing this is a useful stat for me altogether, because it's showing where organizations come up, and lo and behold, LinkedIn is first. So I'm going to leave this page up because that means I can update my slides. So I've engaged with her that way. I've looked at her profile, potentially asked for that introduction through my own proprietary network. I can see here she's got her own website. I might then potentially look at that and see what I can see in terms of anything that's useful from there. So that's what this tool is enabling you to do. It's actually enabling you to think as far and wide as to what you can ask of it from a data set. Again, save the search, let the system do the reminders and the updates for me. However, if you are not acting upon these data points, if you are not saving people, if you are then not looking at and responding to your home page, and certainly this filter here, and this is where you can start this laser focused conversation. This is where you can start to have the conversations with, and also people that you may be missing. So this is why I save people that I am connected to. I save people who are my existing contacts, because I don't necessarily see everything they're doing in LinkedIn. And what I mean by that is I can literally just look at my first degree network and see what's happening. I get these same filters. I have not been notified of 640 job changes in my network in the last 90 days. I've not been notified of 5,000 of my network posting on LinkedIn in the last 30 days. So it's a great way to track what's happening within your own network, because there could well be people that you are connected to who have changed jobs and you haven't realized they've changed jobs. And this will then tell you, gives you the list of where these people are appearing and what companies they are changing jobs in. That's why, for those of you that follow me will know that I bang on about this all day and every day. This is the best lead generation tool on the planet by a country mile if you use LinkedIn for business development, sales, and marketing purposes. And that is why, for the cost at an individual license, I think I'm paying £800 a year for it. It is peanuts in terms of what it gives back to me, what it returns me in terms of business opportunity. I'm not going to win business because of Sales Navigator, but it helps shortcut the process to getting to people that I want to have a conversation with by tracking the people that I want to have that one-to-one conversation with. What you also then get, because of course you are then uber premium, as it were, within here, this then gives you access to what's going on. So I can then understand that engagement that I have just done. I'll keep a track on this and then see if they've looked back at my profile. If they've looked back at my profile for those people that I've engaged with, I then know that signal, that intent that I have shown them, has driven them to do what I want to do. This tool can be used for driving out and out net new business. It can be used if you've only got 5 accounts to manage those 5 accounts. You then get all your bits and bobs up here. So you get your social selling index. So this is this tool, which I'm not a massive fan of, because I think people get very obsessed by these numbers. But you can kind of see how you are performing on LinkedIn. So I keep an eye on this. If you're north of 70, you're kind of in the right place. But the key thing is, are you actually doing the right thing to get to this score versus doing the wrong thing, as it were. As I said, I don't have the CRM sync because I'm on a single license. If you have the CRM sync, then you can do 80% of what I've just shown you within your Salesforce environment, within your Dynamics environment, or whatever CRM system you happen to be on. And then the other thing to also consider is, if you have Sales Navigator and you're certainly on Enterprise, what you want to be doing is then going and talking to your RevOps, SalesOps leaders, because if you have any of these technology platforms supporting what you do, you can then also sync Sales Navigator with these technology platforms, which then starts to bring more and more up-to-date, real data, if you will, from LinkedIn into the technology platforms that you are using, and start to sync this all together, start to bring all of this into kind of one place to make it much easier for you, much quicker, much more effective to get to know the who knows who's doing what, where they're doing what they're interested in, and then start that conversation on LinkedIn. We've seen from the research that's coming through, LinkedIn is massively rewarding the likes and the comments and the conversations. This is not going to win you business. This is going to help you start conversations with people, with your targets, with your prospects, maintain conversations with them online. And especially in this current climate that we're in, as we come to the end of 2020 and we move into 2021, evident we're going to be in this remote virtual world for the foreseeable. This is how you can cut through that noise and shortcut all that conversations. Keep an eye, follow me, subscribe if you're not, because they're forever updating things in here. But hopefully that's given you a bit of an understanding in terms of the sorts of things that you can do with this. There is a lot more that you can drill down on this, but I think for the moment that hopefully gives you enough to get that understanding of what you can do with Sales Navigator, whether you're a solopreneur or you're working for a multi-billion-dollar organization. So there you have it. Hope you found that interesting. Hope that now clears up some of the things that Sales Navigator is or isn't. As from my perspective, it's just the biggest CRM system for LinkedIn. And if you sync it with other technology data platforms that you've got, then it becomes ever more powerful. The key thing to remember, it is encouraging you to engage at a corporate level. It is only as good as your behavior on LinkedIn. So if you're not connecting at a corporate level or encouraging all of your employees to connect to their clients and their contacts on LinkedIn, then you are actually impeding how powerful Sales Navigator can potentially be. Please feel free to connect me on LinkedIn if we're not. Happy to answer any specific questions that you may well have. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel. I really will appreciate it. LinkedIn are forever making changes, so I'll bring videos to you as and when they make those changes. Otherwise, have a good rest of the day.